If you're a renter or you're looking to buy a home in Miami-Dade County, you have definitely seen the exorbitant prices. Our area led the country in rent hikes with a nearly 46% increase in May compared to the previous year. That's according to Realtor.com. Prospective homeowners are looking at a median price of $570,000 for a single family home. In April, Miami-Dade County Mayor Levine Cava declared a housing affordability crisis, and she has made this issue a focal point of her administration. I'm Isadora Rangel, a member of the Miami Herald editorial board, and I will talk to the mayor about what she's accomplished and how we got ourselves in this situation. Levine Cava made history when she became the first woman elected county mayor in 2020. Before that, she was a county commissioner for 6 years. And in 1996, she founded Catalyst Miami, an organization that helps low and middle income families. Mayor Levine Cava, welcome to Speaking of Miami.
Great to be with you. Thank you so very much.
We're very happy to have you with us, and we received a lot of questions from readers. As you can imagine, everybody's paying attention to this crisis. But I want to take us back to April. As I said, you declared a housing affordability crisis. And with your announcement came a commitment to use $13.4 million in federal funding for emergency rental assistance. So my question is, have renters or homeowners experienced any relief since then? And are we close to seeing home prices and rents start falling?
Well, thank you so much. This really is the crisis that we are all concerned about here in Miami-Dade County, and we must be bold. So I declared the crisis. I galvanized resources in addition to drawing down even more federal dollars for emergency rental assistance. We created the Building Blocks Fund. We committed to even more affordable housing units. We have 32,000 units in process. And for sure, on the emergency rental assistance side, we have been one of the top in the nation, drawing down additional dollars as we've used up the amounts that had been sent. We've helped over 20,000 families to avoid eviction. We've spent over $123 million in emergency rental housing. And that program is just one that we are expanding with our new homes program. So I, of course, want to explain all about the homes program because it's going to help renters and landlords. It's going to help homeowners. It will preserve housing. It will build more housing. And it will help people who are at the low income level all the way up through our workforce. So there's hope in sight.
We will be talking about the homes program, but I just want to ask something related to what you just said. You mentioned 32,000 affordable housing units. What does that mean? Because I think we talk about affordable housing first. What does that mean? And when will these units be built? When can people start seeing a difference in terms of their home prices and rents?
So we already have broken ground on 14,000 units, and those are expected to be built by the end of 2023. And in fact, many of them are already coming online. I'm thrilled to attend numerous ribbon cuttings, and of course they're filling up fast, but there are still vacancies in some of these units as they come online. And then at our housing summit in June, we pledged to additional 18,000, and those are moving through the permitting process as well. So, excuse me, I stand corrected. We have 18,200 units that will be closed that will close by the end of 2023. So even more than I said. And almost 11,000 of those will be in the affordable range, which is up to 60% of the area median income, and 7,000 are for the workforce level, which is up to 140% of area median income. And I can explain what those numbers look like.
Yes, please do, because the area, the median income is around $68,000. Am I correct? And what would that rent look like for somebody?
Well, so these units are going to be available for everybody from 30% to 140% of area median income. For a family of four, that's anything from $29,250 up to $136,500. So you can see that even though it goes to a higher income level, really members of our middle class, they are also having a very difficult time finding housing that they can afford. So it's really critically important that we are providing for the range of people. Housing is unaffordable for so many, even the majority of our residents, and it's hurting our families, it's hurting our employers, it's hurting our workforce, it's hurting our economy. And so it's critically important that we provide for everyone.
And if somebody is interested in applying to live in one of these units, what should they do? Should they go to a specific website? Should they call a number? How do they get in touch with the county?
We are creating a tracker. We have a tracker. It's at miamidade.gov/housing tracker, and it keeps track of all the units as they're in process and they're coming online. These buildings they're independent in terms of who has to apply. So you do have to apply to each individual, whatever is the best unit for you. But we're going to be accelerating. Again, when we talk about the homes program, you'll see that thousands more units, in addition to the 32,000 that I've mentioned, will be coming online if we approve the homes plan in the budget this month.
Yeah, so let's move on to the homes plan. That you recently proposed an $85 million plan that you called homes, and it does a lot of things. But maybe we can talk about that plan maybe part by part, and maybe just hit the major points. But I wanted to start with a question. You would expand rental assistance to households making up to $136,000 for a family of four. And you would also help homeowners in the same income bracket with their mortgage and HOA fees, also give incentives for landlords to accept Section 8 vouchers for low-income renters, and many other things. But first, you must convince the county commission to fund your plan. And I think the question that you're going to get is, why should taxpayers subsidize the rents of households that most people would probably assume are earning pretty good money at $136,000, definitely not a low-income household? And what is your response to that? I want to start with that, because people are concerned with government spending their hard-earned dollars, obviously.
Yeah, there are so many important things to say here. First of all, we have proposed a historic tax cut. It's a $25 million tax cut. It's the first tax cut in 10 years. It brings the millage rate down to 1982 levels. So this is really very significant. So we are making sure that there is some relief, immediate relief. As well, we have dollars available. We have an opportunity to address this elephant in the room, which is the housing crisis. And it affects everybody. It affects the low end of the income spectrum. It affects people at the workforce level. And we are losing our workers. It is very short-sighted not to invest in something that will hopefully bring us to a time when the market stabilizes, when the cost of housing comes into some new balance. The demand for this housing has just grown astronomically as more people have moved here, discovered our paradise, and making it increasingly difficult for our workers, our working families to afford to live here. So this is something really for everybody, because it benefits everybody in the county, and it makes sure that some of it short-term dollars. We still have federal dollars from the American Rescue Plan that we've been able to convert into our budget, but those funds will be used up in a couple of years. So we can't use them for ongoing expenses like our regular service, our police, our parks, our transit. We have to use them for things that will be a big investment and have long-term dividends, like investing in the supply of housing that people can afford. So I think, again, for people who know that they're getting a tax cut, a bigger tax cut, it would be irresponsible, because it would force us in a couple of years to have to cut services or increase taxes just to meet basic service needs that we all depend upon. And so we have this one-time opportunity to fix a crisis that is undermining our community and really putting our future at risk. So that's the case, and we hope that the commissioners are hearing that. We know we have gotten a lot of support in the community, people who understand this, and hopefully, yes, we will have the votes that we need to pass the budget, the millage, and the homes plan. this week, Thursday, the first budget hearing, and then the second on September 20th.
Yeah, and did your team look into whether subsidies and increasing the amount of subsidies could it provide more incentives for landlords, for example, to keep rents high because they're getting all this extra flow of cash? What do you say about that?
Definitely. These investments are things that will pay off. So, for example, the program that is paying to renovate buildings that are really in bad repair, this makes them affordable in the long term. We're saying to landlords, take this money, fix up your units, and keep the units affordable. Make a commitment. For the WIP program, Workforce Housing Incentive Program, we're saying to landlords that have not provided workforce level or affordable level housing, we're saying, take this subsidy as an incentive. And then we believe that they'll continue providing. For example, Section 8, which is a federal program that provides subsidies. These many tenants have received these vouchers, but they can't find willing landlords. So we're saying, landlords, take this incentive, welcome these new renters, and we believe that this will convert more landlords to be long-term participants in the Section 8 program. And also, we are working with we're calling it increasing the supply. Yes, we're closing the gap when the cost of building new units has gone up, and developers that have units but can't finish the deal because of the increased cost from supply chain issues and the like, we're saying we'll give you those last dollars so that you can get these units open and ready. So there's quite a number of ways that this program is not just a short-term solution, but really investing for the future.
So what you're saying is, in order for a landlord to benefit from the subsidies, he or she has to agree to keep those units affordable, correct?
Correct. That is exactly yes.
And so, and how does the county hold these landlords accountable? We know even your administration has highlighted the fact that in previous administrations and in previous programs, the county failed to hold certain developers accountable. How will the county ensure, we are a very large county with a lot of landlords, how will your administration ensure that this program is running as it's supposed to be, and that people are not taking advantage, taking subsidies and then charging $3,000 for a one-bedroom apartment, for example?
Right. So we have very strong accountability measures and monitoring in these programs. And the guidelines are going to be up on our webpage very shortly, if they're not there already, at miamidade.gov/housing. And so all of the programs and their guidelines, which, have to be adopted, but they're all there. And the landlords that don't comply with the requirements are subject to clawback. We take back their money. We disqualify them from the program. And it's long-term monitoring as well. So, of course, we had to put some money into program accountability and monitoring. And our Public Housing and Community Development Department has not had those dollars in the past. Previous administrations have not put money towards monitoring. And that was very clear with the results of these conveyances that went awry, that went astray. Yes, you have to monitor. Of course, this is public dollars, public assets. We need to show the public that it's being used for public purpose.
And another aspect of the homes program, and you want to tackle, quote, naturally occurring affordable housing. And we're seeing older affordable apartments and homes disappear in areas like Little Havana as these neighborhoods gentrify and low-income residents especially are pushed out. So how will your plan change that? And how do you find a balance between building more affordable housing and gentrification, which affects a lot of our historic communities? We see what's happening in West Grove, Little Havana, Little Haiti.
So that is another benefit of the NOAA program, is that it does work to make sure that the income mix is maintained in these neighborhoods. And some of this is historic housing. Certainly, these are historic neighborhoods, and we don't want to push the people who've spent a lifetime, or these are their homes for many years. We don't want to push them out, and it's not good for the whole community to push these people out. Our workers, our families need to have a place to live, and we are very constrained in where we can build. So it's critically important. We've had this program for a long time, but we're enhancing it through the homes program. We're adding more money. We're saying to landlords, take this money, we will give it to you as a grant, fix up this property, and then maintain this property as affordable for 30 years. 30 years. That is sustainability, and will go a long way to make sure that these neighborhoods continue to work for income mix, also preserve their natural characters that makes them charming and attractive. So that's a critical part of it.
And what does an affordable unit cost nowadays? Because we hear that word so much. You mentioned the area median income. Are we talking about, is it $1,500 nowadays? Is it $2,000? To some people, it can be up to $2,500, right?
Yeah.
What give us a range?
Yeah. So, for example, if people are spending 30% of their income on housing, which is what's recommended by HUD, the national office, for let's see here. Help me out, team. Give me what. So that would be, for example, for a single person, they would be limited to $20,500. The rent would be limited to $512 a month. So a single person making $20,000 wouldn't be expected to pay more than $512 a month. Now let's look at a family of four, and they are they would be, for example, paying $1,413 a month to be in the affordable range.
Got it.
So it's affordable, basically, and so difficult to find. Obviously, as the incomes go up, if we go to 140% of area median income, because that's the newer category, right, that we're expanding some of these programs. So for a family of four, again, with the income of $136,500, they would, for example, for a 4-bedroom unit, which might not be what they need, that would be almost a $4,000, but a 2-bedroom unit would be $3,073.
Okay. I would say it's hard to find anything for less than $2,000 nowadays, even for a 1-bedroom. I know because I'm a renter. But
Yes.
This is a good segue into my next question. If for people who are looking for rental assistance or any kind of assistance from the county, where should it go? Whenever should they call? And we also have a banner down here. And explain a little bit about, very briefly, what they have to do to make sure that they qualify for the existing programs.
Right. So we have added this Office of Housing Advocacy that was in this past year's budget. And I want to thank members of the community, activists that came out and said, we need this help. And we had not had that service in the county before. And we added 3 professional members of the staff. They have received many hundreds of calls in the first few months of operation. So they're working around the clock, long hours, and backed up by our 311 hotline. But their number is 786-469-4545. So again, 786-469-4545. And the email is housingadvocacy@miamidade.gov. So they are helping people navigate, helping them learn what they qualify for, helping them identify new units that have come online, helping with eviction prevention, referring for legal services. And by the way, in this budget, we also have dollars for eviction prevention to go to legal service organizations, because sometimes that's what's needed to really help resolve a situation. And when lawyers are involved, evictions can be avoided. Often it's negotiating with the landlord. So it is a very critical part of the equation. So we have staffed up what's needed to help people during this crisis, as well as creating the additional units.
Yeah, and make sure if you want that number, it's right here at the bottom of the screen, and write it down so you can get in touch with the county. So now let's move on to another topic, and it's rent control. We all know this is a hot button issue, but it has gained some attention during this crisis. Florida law makes it very hard for local governments to impose rent stabilization measures, but County Commissioner Keone McGee proposed exploring this option with a study earlier this year. And Orange County and Central Florida will ask voters whether to create a 1-year 9.8% cap on rent hikes. Does Miami-Dade need a cap on rent increases?
So rent control is not an easy fix for Miami-Dade County, and Commissioner McKee has withdrawn his legislation. So Florida law makes it very difficult to, if not impossible, to implement rent control, and certainly creates susceptibility to lawsuits, as we've already seen in Orlando. So that's why I've been working on solutions, working with the private sector, with community groups, working with everybody to build our Building Blocks program, which we launched in April, and now this Homes Plan. I believe that this is the most comprehensive, boldest program that you'll find anywhere, and that it will make a very significant impact on the marketplace. It will create more supply, it will create more protections, it will create more avenues, new units coming online that would not otherwise have been in this affordability range. So we're very excited about this program, really hopeful that it will pass and it will provide relief to thousands and thousands of our residents.
Yeah. And one of the things that we just talked about was building new affordable housing. You mentioned that there are 32,000 new units that are being built. But, we keep hearing statistics and studies throughout the years, even before the pandemic, that Miami-Dade needed something like 200,000 units. And the number could be wrong. Please don't quote me on that. But how many units do we need to fix this problem? And how long will it take in the long term to get to that number? And is it even possible to get to that number when there are market forces also at play here?
Yeah, I think as you say, we've had an affordability problem for many, many years. I'm a former legal services attorney. I represented tenants in landlord disputes. We know that costs are going up astronomically. Landlords have to pay their bills. There's many, many factors to balance here. And again, we are particularly suffering because of the high demand, with the newcomers flocking here, the new businesses, the new residents. And we welcome it, but it has really caused an acceleration of the problem for us. And that's why I declared the crisis. I believe that all of the things we're doing are going to create tens of thousands of units. Certainly, we want to add in the range of 50,000 or more units overall. Will that totally meet the supply? No, the needed supply. But at the same time, we're losing units, right? We have to work hard to keep units from being converted to more expensive rentals. And that's why we're addressing the sustainability and the renovations. These are things that will make sure that at the same time we're building, we're not hemorrhaging and losing. So that's a critical part of the equation. We need everybody to pitch in. We need not only landlords to reduce their prices, we need builders to build more mixed income, which creates natural subsidies. When you build mixed income, you can create some workforce and affordable units in those buildings. We need large employers to recognize the high cost of living for their employees and put their salaries higher so that people can pay for those rents. And we need other landlords like the school board. We're working with the school system. We're converting vacant land on school properties. We've identified available properties that others have. We're going to be aggressively deploying county surplus properties. So we just need to address it from every possible angle and not give up. This is not a problem that is going to go away, but the Homes Plan is our best shot at helping to reduce some of the pain in the next few years.
Yeah. And like I said, we received a lot of inquiries and feedback from residents facing rent increases or who can't afford a home to live. And we heard from an 80-year-old woman looking for housing. We heard from a single father of 2 children who said he's about to go homeless. But I want to go back to the issue of seniors. Are there particular programs to help them? And how are we going to make it affordable for them to stay? Because even when they're homeowners already, they're dealing with the rising costs of property insurance, taxes, and other basic necessities. So what's being done to help that segment of the population?
Yes. Well, first, let me say thank you for the advocacy. So many people have become housing navigators, right, in this market. And we get calls daily in my office and, of course, our new Office of Housing Advocacy. We're helping people navigate every single day and including our seniors on fixed incomes. Now, we have double homestead exemption for our seniors and people with disabilities and our veterans. And we are targeting them with the M in the homes program. That's the mortgage relief program. So as they experience increases in insurance, even their taxes, right, might have gone up a little bit. And so they are having difficulty making ends meet, paying their bills. So we've mapped them. We know where they are. We are going to do aggressive outreach to those households and tell them about this program and assist them to apply so that they can get some relief. We also have the weatherization assistance program. That program helps many of our seniors to harden their homes. Maybe their roof needs repair, or their windows are leaking, or they need to do something to cope with the rising heat, right? Heat being the silent killer, and our seniors are so vulnerable to that. Maybe we can assist them with air conditioning units of the environmentally sound kind. We're working on things that are good for our environment as well. So that is part of our programming as well, and we will be targeting seniors.
Okay. And like we just mentioned, maybe a couple of questions ago, this is a crisis that has been in the making for at least a decade, maybe even longer. But I think it's safe to say that we have not done enough to prevent it or at least minimize it. But you were a county commissioner for 6 years prior to becoming mayor. Why didn't the commission do more to increase the supply of housing before we reached this dire situation that we're in?
First, let me say I also was a legal services attorney. I represented people. I also ran a nonprofit, Catalyst Miami, that advocates for affordable housing. I was part of a county affordable housing task force at the time. As a private citizen, I served on that board. So I've been working super hard over many decades on this issue. I think it has to reach a crisis proportion for people to really take it seriously. And it also has to affect people across the income range. The fact of the matter is that middle-class households are having difficulty paying for their housing costs today. And so it's, red alert, everybody knows that we are having this problem. And so it's bringing people together to solve the problem. We can't allow our economy to suffer. We can't allow our workers and our households to suffer. So I think that the greater awareness is leading to the greater commitment to come together to solve this problem.
Do you see the county commission as being more aware of this issue now than it was perhaps 2 or 3 years ago?
Oh, definitely. I think not only the county commission, I think they're hearing it from their children, their grandchildren, their neighbors, their friends, the people in the grocery store. Really, you can't go anyplace and not talk about the cost of housing.
Yeah. And do you think, there's this ongoing conversation, not just in Miami, but in the country, of what is the role of government, right, in fixing societal problems, housing being probably the most important of them. Mm-hmm. It seems to me that what you're saying is that without at least some level of government intervention, we will not be able to come out of this crisis. I also hear from a lot of people who say, let the market forces work this out. Prices will come down. Look for a better paying job, things will get better. What is your case for saying, government needs to step up, as much as in this community, some people might feel that government should be as small as possible?
Yes. Well, I think when people need help, they turn to their government for help. And this is a time when people are turning across the income spectrum. And not just people who themselves are looking for housing, but employers are looking for help. And we are working with landlords and developers, cities, old people, young people, families, our own workforce here in the county. So everybody is united that this is a problem that we can't solve alone. We can only solve it together. As much as anything, this plan comes out of listening to the community. We put out a broad framework. We got feedback. We adopted that feedback. Again, we're working with our employers. We're working with our landlords and our developers. We have the support of people who recognize that if we don't solve this problem, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. We must solve this problem so everyone can work, live, and thrive here in Miami-Dade County. So that is a good role for government, to step in and solve problems that require people to come together.
Yeah, so interesting. We received a couple of questions about the role of transit in access to affordable housing. The County Commission just last week approved an ordinance that was controversial at first to allow higher density along the county's smart plan transit routes. Higher density meaning taller buildings and more houses on less land. It scares a lot of communities who fear this will change the character of their neighborhoods. How will you convince these neighborhoods to accept more density? And one reader noted to us saying it's the right thing to do to help those in need will not fly as an argument. So what is your pitch to these communities who see this as potentially changing their way of life as well?
Right. So definitely, as a world-class city, we have to think like a world-class city. And we do not have infinite space. We have a very fragile environment. Our water supply is underground, right below our feet. We have to be careful of what we build over it. Our well fields, our aquifer are protected through our urban development boundary, as well as our agricultural industry, which is still our number 2 economic driver. So these things, not to mention sprawl, creates more traffic, more congestion, more infrastructure needs that don't exist in these open spaces. So many, many reasons why we have to build smarter. And my administration has put together a very comprehensive report, which has been endorsed by the Miami Herald editorial board, that says we can build smarter, we can do more infill. We're only built out about half what we could be built out within our urban development boundary. And so we're proposing and hoping that the commission will approve policies that will allow development to occur inside and stop the relentless pressure to continue sprawl, which is bad public policy, bad for the environment, bad for traffic, bad for people, bad for infrastructure. So with that, yes, we have to promote density. We have to promote policies such as reducing the number of cars that are needed when you live on a major transit corridor. And I visited buildings on the corridor, on the South Dade corridor, the Metro Rail line. They have waiting lists for these units. People are excited about living in these new units and relying increasingly on public transportation. So this is the future. We also have accessory dwelling units that are moving forward, allowing people to build second units on their property, and allowing zoning to permit that. There are many, many ways that we can incentivize density, reduce the pressure on sprawl. And of all the units that we're building, all of those units we mentioned, the 32,000, the Building Blocks program, the $75 million that's coming into play, we are fully 68% of those new units are being built along our transit corridors. And this budget finally has the dollars we need to build out all 6 corridors in our smart plan. So up until now, not so much. We've been wondering how we would pay for it. But now we are able, in this proposed budget, with the mix of state and federal funding, to move forward on the 6 corridors of the smart plan. And we need to have density along those corridors.
Yeah. And the smart plan, I am someone, I used to live right next to a metro rail station. And I loved having it, but it didn't take me to a lot of places except Daylin Mall, which I love, but I had to drive if I ever wanted to go to Wynwood or even north. Tell us about the smart plan, because we keep hearing about it. When is it going to be finished? When are we going to start seeing there have been some delays in South Dade with the bus rapid transit there. Explain why that there are delays, and when will Miamians see change in their daily lives?
So the 6 corridors include the South Dade Transitway, and it is well underway. There were supply chain issues from COVID, like everything else, but within the couple of years, you will be riding all the way to Florida City rapidly. It will reduce commute time substantially. It will reduce traffic on US 1, and that's the first one that will be fully built out. We also are in the final stages of reviewing plans for the beach corridor. Also the North Corridor, which is very, very important, connecting us all the way up to Hard Rock, has gotten some interest at the federal level. We're pushing hard. We have some federal grant applications through the bipartisan infrastructure bill to move forward with the North Corridor up 27th Avenue, the Northeast Corridor. We are also in discussions with the federal government moving forward, and you know that Brightline is making more stations along the way, and that's within a few years. East-west, we have the mode picked and a route picked, and is next in line for traditional federal grant funding. So we are making headway, but for sure, the last mile is also critical. How do you get to these corridors? We have circulators in the cities, and we are pushing for more of these circulators. Some of them are freebies, pick you up on demand in the unincorporated areas as well. Those have been very effective. And linking all those circulators. So Coral Gables now links to the city of Miami. We also have what's called the Better Bus Network. This is a plan that was developed with substantial public input to prioritize the routes that are most frequented, but not to sacrifice the ones that are still outliers, but still people depend upon them. And we lost drivers during the pandemic. We're gearing up. I've been out there recruiting. We're graduating new bus operator classes, and shortly, in short order, we'll be able to implement the Better Bus Network, which will have more frequent, reliable service on our most critical routes. So quite a lot is in the works, and stay tuned. So
how many years are we talking about?
Well, all of these things, they varying amounts of time. You'll see the South-Dade corridor fully built within a couple of years. You'll see these circulators continuing to improve. It will take another, 3 or more years to build out the additional corridors, but relief is in sight.
Okay, I think we're all waiting for that. And next question is a bit of an environmental question. Your own staff did a report, and they found that Miami-Dade County is projected to run out of empty land for single-family homes within its urban development boundary by 2024. Some say 2025. You and the county commission are under pressure to expand the UDB, which is a line that has been drawn by county staff to separate urban development from rural and environmental lands. You've been opposed to expanding the UDB, and so have we as an editorial board in the past because of its impact on Biscayne Bay restoration. But the question on my mind always is, will there be a point when we have no choice but to make space for more single-family homes, which are still in high demand, right? And it seems to me we will have to expand our urban development boundary to achieve that. Do you agree with that? And are you opposed to any expansion of the UDB?
As I talked about earlier, we have a plan that will allow us to build within the urban development boundary, so not have to move the boundary for a very long time, much longer than what was cited originally, by virtue of changing zoning policy within the urban development. So that was the alternative that we shared with the commission after the chairman requested that we come up with an alternative plan, and it has yet to come to the county commission. It's been very favorably received by the environmental community, by many in the development community, basically it will simplify the process for adding homes within the urban development boundary. So this is something that will give developers the opportunity to build with fewer delays, provide the housing more quickly, but reduce the pressure on expanding the line. We do not have to expand the line. We have adequate space for many years to come. And it includes townhomes. It includes multi-unit dwellings. But it it isn't all high rises either. And it's not something that will suddenly be showing up in everybody's backyards. It is built along the transit corridors in areas where there's already density, but the lots have not been fully built out. So we've gone through and identified about 100,000 lots that are available that could be densified. And that is the plan.
Okay. I know I'm looking at the comments here, and I read a couple of comments about, one of them says, why is that all of the solutions are giving more money to developers and landlords, and are we increasing their profit lines with our tax money instead of making direct rent payments? But is there anything to that when people are saying that all these programs like the homes program actually give more money to developers and actually just instead of actually helping the people who need it?
Well, first of all, somebody has to build the housing. So let's be clear. But we also want to make sure that it's not just big developers. We also have funds in the homes program for smaller landlords, mom and pop businesses, if you will. It's not all the big landlords. We definitely want to be sure that we keep our homegrown businesses going, that people who might own a few units are able to participate in this program. I think that's really, really important. And then direct assistance to homeowners to keep their homes affordable. The M in homes, again, is mortgage assistance, utility assistance. It's direct relief to families that are struggling to pay their basic expenses. So we're hoping to help thousands of people with that program alone. So, it has to be a mix. We do have to make sure that developers develop right. We have to make sure that they develop in a way that doesn't push people away, that makes sure that the people who have lived here can continue to live here, the people who work here can continue to live here, but also to make sure that we're providing it not just to the big ones, but also everyday people who are really having a hard time getting by.
Yeah, and I mean, and like you said, there are many landlords who are either small businesses or just individuals with a couple of properties who
exactly
want to make money. And some of them did reach out to us when we invited them to submit their questions. And they talked about the issues they're facing. So, for example, a Little Havana property owner of 38 apartment units who said her tenants are working class, but her waste management fees, her insurance have all doubled. Another landlord complained about how hard it is to evict even bad tenants renting higher end homes in the suburbs. Now, we talk so much about preventing evictions, but there's that other side of somebody who might be stuck with a bad tenant who doesn't want to pay the rent, right? So what can be done to help them protect their investment? Because we hear so much about the other end of the spectrum, right? The renters and the people who are trying to get in the housing market but can't. So what can be done for landlords?
Yeah, first of all, starting with the emergency rental assistance program, which we started in the middle of the height of the pandemic, we had the the eviction moratorium that was in place for safety and health reasons. That was started by my predecessor, Mayor, now Congressman Carlos Jimenez. And so during that period, there were no evictions. And many landlords, of course, still had bills to pay if the tenants were not able to pay. So the ERAP program helped, I said 23,000 households, but it helped 23,000 landlords, right? Because we paid not only current rent, but we paid back rent. So we helped to make landlords whole so that they would be able to stay in business. We want them to have rentals in the marketplace. So we definitely recognize that this is a whole ecosystem and we have to be realistic about the costs. We just don't want people to gouge, right? We want them to be able to make ends meet for them and stay in business, but they can't gouge. And we do have the first ever Tenants Bill of Rights, which also helped because it used to be that someone could be evicted with really no notice, and now for month-to-month renters, it's a 60-day minimum notice. So that gives them time to prepare. And we still have that ERAP money available for landlords, for tenants, to help them. But we definitely want landlords to be part of our programs. We want them to take advantage of NOAA. So to the landlord that reached out to you with the, I think you said 38 units,
Yes.
they would qualify to be part of the NOAA program. We want to be sure that they can make necessary upgrades to their facilities, but still provide for the working class families. We know that those costs have gone up for them, and we want to help them. We also know that sometimes tenants are hurting it for others, hurting, they're not good tenants, and they're not maintaining the properties and things like that. The evictions are more or less on par with what they were pre-pandemic. There has not been a real big change, so landlords are continuing to take legal redress where they need to, and where a tenant is not meeting their obligations, they can be evicted.
Yeah. And if for landlords looking for assistance, where should they go? Is it the same number we just put on the screen a few moments ago?
In fact, one of our staff members in the Office of Housing Advocacy is specifically assigned to work with landlords, to help landlords to access programs that will assist them and support them, and to invite more landlords to participate in the programs.
Yeah. So again, the number's at the bottom of the screen, and it works either if you're a tenant or a landlord for any assistance you may need with housing, correct? So make sure that people have the number.
Well, realizing maybe a lot of people will be calling. There's just 3 people there answering the phone. So if you get a message,
email.
Be a little patient. Don't give up. You will get a return phone call. Thank you.
Sometimes too much publicity is not a good thing, right? So I think I mentioned property insurance, and this is an issue that it's not a county commission or a county mayor issue, but it is an issue in Miami-Dade as well as throughout Florida. People are being dropped by their insurance. People cannot afford their insurance, which makes them sometimes ineligible to finance a home, right? The state legislature did try to address this year, but people asked us, what can the mayor do to help homeowners in this situation? If there is anything, or is this completely outside of your scope?
Well, first, I just want to say, if you are calling and you're waiting on the line to get through, we are including in the budget 4 new staff people for the Office of Housing Advocacy, another reason to support the mayor's budget. As far as insurance costs go, it's primarily a state issue. The state really controls who insures, and they had a special session on it. They did not come up with too many good solutions, I'm afraid to say. What we've been able to do at the local level is reduce risks. So, for example, the more that we do to deal with rising seas, floods, things like that, then premiums on insurance, because we're taking the efforts at a government level to reduce the risk to insurers. So that is something that I take very seriously, in addition to the housing issue. Our environment, our climate change issues are top of my agenda. And so we're doing everything we can to make sure that insurance is available in our market, and that we demonstrate that we're taking aggressive action to reduce risk.
Yeah, and this is a good segue into talking about the role of the state, right? And there are things that the legislature and the governor can do. What would you like for our lawmakers in Tallahassee and the governor to do to help Miami-Dade?
Dollars for housing that's affordable is critically important. And we do have a source of revenue, the Sadowski Act in Tallahassee, that has typically been rated for other purposes. And we need our legislators to stand firm and allow that full trust fund to fund housing. A lot of projects have been delayed for lack of last dollar. We're doing our part. Building Blocks Fund, $75 million, 32,000 units. We have our own surtax, which is a local program, but we need statewide the Sadowski Act funds to come fully to every part of the state needs dollars, but especially here in the most unaffordable place in the country. I also just want to emphasize that insurance reform is the state's domain, and we need the state to help us to come up with more solutions, to be more assertive, not simply to let insurance companies say that they'll cover less in order to agree to accept insured. We need aggressive action at the state level. And I want to underscore that the M in homes also includes insurance relief. So we are wanting to help those who are having a hard time paying the bills, homeowners, to pay their insurance and to thereby avoid foreclosure. So state needs to give us those dollars. State needs to deal with the insurance issues, and the state needs to deal with resilience issues, because we're looking ahead to extreme weather events, flooding, storms, and we have programs here, but not enough. We need to be all working together to make sure that our housing stock stays strong in the face of weather challenges as well.
Well, with that said, Mayor, I think we can wrap up our conversation. I want to thank you for your time and explaining everything that your administration is doing. And I want to thank the viewers as well for submitting their questions and for watching us, Mayor. Again, thank you so much. And if you are interested in hearing more about the work we do here at the Miami Herald, please consider subscribing to us. The information will be on the screen. We have great promotions if you are a new subscriber. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.